Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I am bringing you 3 DIYs that are all part of a What Would You Do challenge. And I will explain a little bit more about that later, but for now, let's go ahead and just jump right on in. For this first DIY, you are going to need a round pizza pan that you can pick up at the Dollar Tree. I have spray painted mine in the color black, and then a calendar that I also picked up at the Dollar Tree in the fall. And I have already done some DIYs with some of these pages. If you are interested in those, I can link that video in the description box below. But there are some gorgeous pages in this calendar. And for this DIY, we're going to use this adorable page from the month of April. You're going to need some beads. You're going to need some Mod Podge along with a paintbrush. And I will be using some of my truffle color chalk paint later on in the video as well. So to start, I just kind of pressed along the edges where I know I'm going to need to trim off this page in order to Mod Podge it down onto the pizza pan. Now, I'm not too worried about the cut being absolutely perfect because it is going to be, the edges will all be covered by the beads here a little bit later on. So it does not have to be perfect. Then I'm going to take the Mod Podge and I am just going to do little sections at a time. The calendar pages are pretty thin. I prefer to use a glue stick with them, but I wasn't sure how well the glue stick would hold up on a pizza pan. So I decided to just go ahead and use the Mod Podge, but I do it little by little so that way I have less chances of bubbles or tearing or anything of that nature. It's just a lot easier to put on. And then I'm going to take these beads that I actually picked up in a clearance section somewhere a while ago. I can't even remember where, but I will link the beads that I also get in bulk from Amazon because it's actually a very, very good deal. And I will actually be using some of those later on in the video as well. So I'm just going to wrap it around my pan to see how many I need. I'm going to cut it off from the strand and I will be ready to go with the exact amount that I need. Next, I have a little bit of water I have in this cup here, and then I have this yellow paint that I also picked up from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to mix it in with the water, and I'm just going to mix it around real well, and I'm going to stick the beads that I have in this cup and just kind of mix them around. It's a lot easier and a lot quicker than painting each bead individually, especially when you are doing this many of them. Now, I will say, as you can see by looking at this cup, it is a cup that I have used many times with different paint projects. And I will recommend not doing that because here in a few minutes, you will see how some of the paint, after it got wet, some of the black paint that was in there kind of came off on the beads on the yellow. So I caused myself a little bit more work. It was not an issue, easy fix. I just took a wet paper towel and wiped off the black specks that got on the paint. I did it before it dried so that way I knew it would come off. So I just caused myself a little bit more work. So use something that's clean and that don't have old paint on it to save yourself that time. Then I am going to start preparing the ribbon while my beads dry. And I have this pink lace that I picked up at the Dollar Tree in their regular ribbon section. This pink ribbon that I actually got that is out right now in the Easter section. I have this glitter that or kind of, it matches the bunny really well. I don't know what color it is. And I picked it up from the regular section at Dollar Tree as well, along with this burlap with the lace on it. This is the only ribbon right here that I actually picked up from the clearance section of Walmart. I am going to measure one piece out to 7 inches, and then I'll just use that to kind of help me measure all the other pieces. And I'm going to cut all of these ribbon. I'm going to cut them all to 7 inches. Now, when you get to the burlap with the lace, I actually did cut that in 10 inches. It is thicker and it don't get the knot when you go to tie it, don't get as tight. So you do need it to be just a little bit longer. So that one should be 10 inches. Then I'm going to just tie them all so that way I have them all pre-tied ahead of time before I am ready to glue them on. This video is part of a What Would You Do challenge that I am doing with this amazing group of crafters. So, what we did was we spun the wheel 3 times, and whatever it landed on was the department we had to purchase something in. And then we had to come up with whatever creative idea we could out of that item. So make sure you go through this playlist and check out all of the creative things that all of these ladies did for this challenge. I myself am super excited to see what they did and to see what items they chose and all the creative things that they made out of them. So make sure you definitely go and check it out. So my beads are all dry now, and I am going to start putting them in place. I decided that I did want to add in some natural beads, about every 5 or 6 beads or so. And so I grabbed my bag that I got from Amazon that I have linked below, and I chose a larger bead. And I'm going to have that down, and then I'm going to place 5 of the yellow beads and then another natural bead. And I'm just going to do that same pattern around the whole pan. Next, I am going to take my Waverly chalk paint in the color Truffle, and I am just going to blend in some of the edges where you might be able to see the pizza pan where the paper and the pan met. And this color paint matched up very well with the bunny and the browns that are on this calendar page. So it looks perfect. By the time it's all said and done, it looks like it was already just designed that way. It don't even look like I painted it on. It looked like it was on the page already. And now I have everything done to the pan, and I'm just going to take all of those ribbons that we had already prepared, and I'm going to just glue them all in place. No specific pattern. They don't have to necessarily go in a certain order, just trying to make it to where the colors blend in well and look very well. You're going to notice that I used a lot of yellow in this sign. I love the little yellow flowers that are right below the bunny. So I really wanted to help those stand out. So that's why I went with the yellow on the beads, and I'm going with a lot of yellow ribbon because I plan on giving this to my mother. She is a huge fan of the color yellow. The more, the better. It doesn't matter how bright it is. When I was growing up, we had a bright yellow kitchen even. And so I know she'll love it. She'll love the yellows. The pinks just kind of help dim it down a little bit. And then the burlap is just adorable and blends in with the brown on the page. So I just feel like all the colors ended up going very well together. But you could definitely accent it in whatever colors matched your taste the most. Next, I have this yellow ribbon that I got in the clearance department of Joann Fabrics, and I'm just going to cut off some small pieces. And I'm not going to tie them to where there's two strands like the original ribbon. I'm just going to tie a knot at the end so I have something to glue. And it's only going to have one strand because I'm just going to use this for any areas where we might see a little too much of the pan still, too much of the blacks coming through. And I'm just going to kind of tuck it in under some of the other ribbon, glue it in just to kind of hide any areas that maybe are still standing out. And lastly, I'm just going to take that same burlap ribbon with the lace on it. I just made a regular bow and I'm just going to glue it in place at the top. That's why I didn't worry about there being a little bit of gap in those last two beads or the top of the calendar page having that hole because I knew we were going to cover that up with a bow. So we're just going to cover it up, cut off the ends. We're going to add some twine to the back so that way we have something to be able to hang this up with. And voila, we are done with our adorable Easter wall hanging. Thank you for stopping by my channel today. If you are looking for creative inspiration, ideas on how to decorate on a budget, or just looking for a fun community of friends, then be sure to hit that subscribe button and click the drop down menu so you can be one of the first to get notified every time I upload a new video. Also, be sure to follow me over on Instagram at Home with Rebecca Jane, where I post even more tips and ideas on home decorating. So our first DIY had to be from the kitchen department, and our second one had to be from the automotive tools pet aisle. I went with this shop rag that is meant to dry automobiles, but I am going to come up with something a little different for it today. And the other things you're going to need to use this DIY is this little mini bunny kit that you can get from the Dollar Tree. I have this little pom-pom that I actually took off of a Christmas hat, some Mod Podge, some felt. This is a maybe. You may not need that. Some of this decorative garland. And then I am going to use this Let It Snow sign that I picked up this Christmas from the Dollar Tree. You could actually get a sign like this any season. They have some out there right now for spring and for Easter. So you can really use any style of sign. Then I just took the Let It Snow part off and I will set that aside so I can save it for something else. And I am taking off the little hanging twine so that way it don't get paint on it and I can reuse it. Then I'm using my heat gun to just help me get the sticker off. It just makes it a little bit easier to get it off the back when I heat it up, and I'm sanding it down so that way I can paint over it. I'm going to give the back side of my sign, which is going to be the front of my sign now, I'm going to cover it in my Waverly chalk paint in the color white. Now, I'm not too concerned about it being full coverage, so don't worry if some of the wood is showing through because we're going to be coloring it in another paint as well. Once I have my first coat of the white, I am going to use this candy pink color in my apple barrel paint, and I am going to go over the white. Now, I have not let the white paint fully dry, and I'm going to be using the same brush. I am going to paint the same way you would if you were dry brushing, kind of working your way from the outside in, having more on the outside. But again, my brush is not dry. I'm using the same brush. I just wanted it to help blend in that pink with the white a little bit more, calm it down, and I still want to be able to see some white through the pink. I'm primarily painting it so that way the bunny will stand out a little bit more. And then we're going to take that little wood bunny that was in that pack I showed you, and we are going to take that cloth that is meant to dry cars, and we are going to cut out a little square so that way we have enough of it to cover the front of this bunny. Once we have the square cut out, having enough to cover the whole side of the bunny, I am going to cut a little few strips or slices in the areas where the bunny curves in the most, because I do want it to be able to be shaped to look like the bunny. So we're going to have to be able to tuck in some of these areas so that way when we go to glue it down, they will tuck in well and we will be able to see the exact shape of the bunny. Once we have it cut and ready, then we are going to take our hot glue and we're just going to start in small sections, and we're going to put some glue down and push up the towel on the back side. I am getting the areas where I made those little cuts first so that way it secures it, and you do want to make sure that you are pulling in tight so that way you don't have to worry about it coming loose or anything of that nature. Make sure you pull in as tight as you can, especially around the little bunny ear, because I didn't want to cut it there because I wasn't, it's such a tight area. I didn't want you to be able to see the wood. So, but if you pull in tight, it keeps the shape of the bunny ear and there is no problems with it. And so next, I just want the bunny centered on my sign here. So I am going to take my hot glue again, and you do need to make sure you get the hot glue on the fabric as much as you can, because if you get too much on the wood, it may not reach the sign since it's going to elevate it a little bit. And I just put a lot of hot glue so that way I don't have to worry about it coming off, and I am making sure that it is centered and I'm pushing down for it to hold firm. Then take your little pom-pom, if you have something from Christmas left over, whatever you can use for the tail, and just glue it in place. Now, if you don't have anything like this, one thing you can do is take what the fabric that you have left from our towel, our drop cloth, whatever we want to call it, and just roll it up in a ball. You can use your hot glue to kind of hold it in place so that way it rolls up in a ball form, and you can definitely use that as the tail to our bunny as well. This is where the optional felt comes in. If you just want to add a finishing touch and make sure that the back of this is covered and it looks like, it don't look like it was a refurbished Christmas sign, then just take some glue, some Mod Podge, and put that felt or even some scrapbook paper on the back side, and it will give it that final touch. Then I'm just going to add my twine string back to the front so that way I have that in place. And I'm going to add some garland. Now, I picked up both of these from Joann Fabrics because I was not able to find any of the spring ones from the Dollar Tree, but they do have it. I decided to go with the smaller one, and I'm just going to wrap it a couple times, and then I'm not even going to glue it because you can actually, when you cut it off on the back, you can tuck it around where you wrapped it around and it holds it firm. So I didn't even add any super glue. I just tucked it in. For one final touch, I decided to use this pretty ribbon that you can get in the Easter department at the Dollar Tree and add a little bow to my little bunny. I actually think this DIY could be super cute and super fun too to do at home if you're stuck at home with kids because they're still not back in school, they're virtual, or anything of that, whether you homeschool or anything of that nature, or you just babysit your grandkids. I think this would be adorable for a child to do and then put their name with a marker or paint pen at the bottom of the sign right underneath the bunny. I just think that would be super adorable. And boys could always even paint the background to theirs a different color. And it was just super affordable and super easy to do. And then we had to spend for our last DIY, and it has to include something from Glassware. And after a decent amount of time searching that aisle, longer than I care to admit, I decided to grab a couple of these glasses. I use them for water around the Christmas and Thanksgiving holidays. And then you are going to need a bag of this Easter glitter vase filler, a bag of the little carrots, and a bag of these little yarn pom poms. And I picked them all up from the Dollar Tree. So this is going to be something that you can use as a decoration, definitely, especially on a little coffee bar or something like that. Or it would be a good gift if you have an older child like I do. My oldest daughters are 20 and 21, and I actually think this would make a really cute Easter gift that I think they would really like because they would end up taking it all apart and using it someday as decorations themselves. So my goal is to not use any hot glue so that way this can be used as a regular glass as a gift. And I stuck the largest pom pom that was in that little packet and I stuck it into the vase after I put the vase filler in. And I'm going to add the little pink tail for the booty. And it's as though the bunny fell into the glass trying to get to the carrots. So I am going to put the ears together. Again, that came in that little pom pom pack. And I'm gluing them together, but I'm just going to stick them in the vase. Super simple, super quick and easy, but you make a couple of these, have them both look a little bit different. You will see I did one at the end just to have it a little bit different. I had the face looking out, so instead of it the bottom sticking out, put a couple of these together. It's a great gift, like I said, for an older child for Easter, or it would be really cute if you decorate a hutch or something like that, a coffee bar, a wine bar, anything like that for Easter. And just like that, within 5 minutes, you have an adorable gift to give someone for Easter or an extra little display for your home. So I think it looks super cute. My favorite is the one that looks like it fell in trying to get the carrots. So I definitely love that one the best. I hope you all enjoyed these DIYs today. Make sure you bounce through the hop and see all the other exciting DIYs the other crafters brought you. And everyone have a great week. Stay safe and stay warm out there. Bye bye.